Hello and welcome back to episode 2 of Malifaux Factions and Masters. First episode seemed to be very well received, so here we are with a part 2. In this one we will be covering the Neverborn, the Outcasts and the Bayou. So 3 highly interesting factions with a lot of interesting masters, so let's get right into it, starting with the Neverborn. They were here, long before us, before the breach opened, before humanity dared set foot in Malifaux. In the shadows of this twisted world, they are the true natives, the Neverborn. Ancient, powerful, and filled with a deep, resenting hatred. They remember when the land was theirs, when their dark magic ruled unchallenged. Now the humans have come, greedy for power, tearing through their realm like a plague. But Malifaux is not a place for humans. It never was. And the Neverborn are ready to reclaim it. They come in many forms. Some you wouldn't even notice amongst a crowd. Their eyes just a little too deep, their smiles a little too sharp. Other, monstrous towering figures that shape the earth with every step, the presence twisting reality around them. But they all have one thing in common. They want the humans gone. Every trespass, every claim made by humans is an insult. The Neverborn do not forgive. The Neverborn do not forget. They are watching, they are waiting, and soon they'll take back what was stolen from them. First up in the Neverborn roster, we have Pandora, Mistress of Misery, who oversees the Woe keyword. Woe is indeed what anyone will feel when they face off against her. Pandora's box in Myth and Legend contains nothing but evil, and her representation on the tabletop in Malifaux is no exception to that rule. They excel in dishing out negative status effects and drowning their opponents in a pit of misery before moving in for the kill. For Pandora, the humans of Malifaux are nothing but playthings for her to torment. Like a sadistic child pulling the wings off a fly, be sure to stay away. If the lid comes off that box and you're anywhere in sight, be sure to run as fast as you can, because you'll lose your mind, swiftly followed by your life. Next up we have the Dreamer, manifesting minions within the Nightmare keyword. On the surface, he may look like a petulant child in need of some discipline. I would severely advise against this. As it turns out, he's not even in Malifaux, he actually resides Earthside, but his link to the Nightmare Tyrant is that strong, he can manifest himself and his nightmarish minions into Malifaux without actually physically being present. Being able to summon creatures that would even make Tim Burton shake in his boots, the Dreamer can move through any terrain completely undeterred, while guarded by the biggest and scariest totem in the game, Lord Chompabits. When the Dreamer wants to play hide and seek, you better run, or you better find somewhere really good to hide, because if you lose, you'll never wake up from this nightmare again. Next we have Zoraida, the soothsaying hag of the Swamp Fiend keyword. Don't let her fragile appearance deceive you. Being a master and reading the threads of fate, many have sought her out in the swamps of the Bayou, hoping to beat her in a game of chance, to seek her favour and boons. But this is a fool's errand. Like the cursed monkey's paw, every gift that's handed over by Zoraida comes at a great cost, always benefiting her, forsaking those foolish enough to trust her. Being a dual master of Neverborn and Bayou, she has a number of allies at her disposal, including gremlins and gators. Being able to cheat and twist fate to her advantage, as the game goes on, your opponent's frustrations will double. If the cards have deemed it so, then that's how it will be, because the cards and fate never lie. Next up on the roster is Titania, the Queen of the Fae keyword. Once a self-proclaimed Queen of Malifaux, her kingdom was lost when she and her kin were banished. Now they have returned, with a great many scores to settle and a kingdom to reclaim. With a heart as sharp and rotten as a dying bouquet of roses, she wields her power to command nature to strike at her foes. Vicious piles of razor-sharp vines seemingly grow out of nowhere to slow and slice her foes, while her servants close in for the killing blow. Fueled by old magic, these ancient denizens of Malifaux will stop at nothing to reclaim what was once theirs. Bow at her feet, or be an enemy of the Fae. These are your only options when dealing with Titania. Maybe skip out on visiting the woods today. Next up we have the absolute powerhouse that is Nekema, broodmother of the Nephilim. What do you get when you combine wings, a bad attitude, and absolute martial prowess with a blade? That's right, you get Nekema. Charging into battle followed by a brood, her children only get stronger as the battle progresses. Feeding upon the corpses of the fallen, the Terratots quickly grow to formidable beasts that only aim to please their broodmother and to fight at her side. With rancid, acidic black blood flowing through their veins, harming a Nephilim in combat will only hurt the attacker just as much. An unstoppable force of nature, the brutal, warmongering ferocity of the Nephilim is completely unmatched. It's often enough to unnerve even the hardiest of warriors. Next up is Euripides, commander of the giants that fall under the savage keyword. An ancient prophet of might, muscle and magic, Euripides and his crew are able to control the flow of the battlefield through use of ancient magic. Summoning pillars of ice to trap and entomb their opponents, allowing these seemingly unwieldy giants to teleport across the board with horrifying speed. Unmatched in size and ferocity, the savage crew are a sight to behold on the battlefield, using the old ways, a practice now forgotten in Malifaux. They are able to channel magic to manipulate theirs and their opponents' fate decks. Don't be fooled by thinking these are some dumb, hulking brutes. Making such an assumption will cost you your life.
Outcasts. The name says it all. In the twisted world of Malifaux, they don't fit neatly into anyone's plans. Not the Guild, not the Arcanists, not even the Resurrectionists. They're the ones who refuse to play by anyone's rules but their own. Bandits, mercenaries, bounty hunters, they're the scum that survived when no one else could. At the heart of it all is Von Schill, a soldier, a leader, a visionary, but most of all, a man who saw opportunity in chaos. When the Governor-General decided that mercenaries could no longer be utilised in Malifaux, he decided to bring about some change. He brought them together, gave them a cause, a banner to fight under. But here's the thing, the Outcasts. They're not an army. They're a loose confederation of misfits, rogues and rebels, each with their own agenda. Von Schill might have given them purpose, but he never gave them unity. One day, they're fighting side by side. The next, they're ready to turn on each other for a handful of scrip or a personal vendetta. Every crew has its own goals, its own grudges. Some want power, others revenge. A few just want to watch it all burn. Friction is inevitable. Loyalty is thin, but in the end, every outcast knows one thing. In Malifaux, you survive on your own terms, or none at all.
Starting out the Outcast roster, we will begin with the Victoria twins, heading the mercenary keyword. What's better than one sword-wielding badass leading a band of Ronin? That's right, 2 of them. Taking on the toughest jobs with the highest stakes, challenges and pay on the market, the Vics revelled in combat, always seeking the next challenge and the next payday. A glass cannon scalpel crew able to charge up the board with unparalleled speed, the Vics will be carving up your backlines before you've even had chance to think of a plan of attack. Their devastating speed and flurry of blows will leave any crew hurt and bleeding before they dash away once more before the retaliation strike can land. If you main Genji in Overwatch, maybe this might be the crew for you. A very similar playstyle there. Next up is Leviticus of the Amalgam keyword. Half mad scientist, half mechanic, Leviticus was able to put his workshop, captivating salvage and logistics to good use, concocting devices to extend its own life, such as his hollow waifs. Highly intelligent, Leviticus can hand over his own life force to buff that of his Amalgam minions, but snatch it back when needed to avoid death if required. He's always capable of building more. Having backup plans for backup plans hidden around safe houses all across Malifaux, Leviticus will do whatever he can to outpace the ravages of time and the Grim Reaper itself. He can certainly be a sketchy character, but I would use caution when confronting him. In Malifaux, people disappear all the time, and you too may find yourself as one of his haunted constructs. Next up we have Hamelin, the Pied Piper in control of all things plague. Using his array of rats and brainwashed street urchins, Hamelin's primary goal is to hand out blight to all of those around him. A non-removal status effect, the blight is extremely debilitating to all that catch it, causing coughing fits to cancel triggers and actions, and bleeding disease to drop high spike damage on an enemy. As well as this, his keyword is capable of summoning large amounts of Malifaux rats to block up choke points on the board and to harass Hamelin's enemies. Be wary when you hear the echoing song of panpipes later piped in Malifaux. If you listen too hard or get too close, you too may fall under the influence of the Plague Piper. Before you know it, you'll find yourself unquestionably carrying out his bidding and spreading plague and pestilence to all the denizens of Malifaux. Next on the list is the tough as nails leader of the Freikorps, Von Schill. Ex-soldier and all-around badass, Von Schill prides himself on founding and running the most elite and prestigious mercenary group this side of the breach. Well-trained, well-armed, and not stopping until victory is achieved, the Freikorps are a force to be reckoned with. Better equipped than any modern-day Marine squad, and the know-how to back it up, the Freikorps are not short of options of who and what to bring on any given mission. Von Schill himself is no slouch either. He is just as, if not more, capable than those under his command. Putting his fierce clockwork rifle to use with marksman pinpoint accuracy while getting stuck in the fight with his metal arm or razor-like claws. Von Schill truly believes in leading from the front. Glory to the Freikorps. Now we have Tara, mistress of time and travel and leader of the obliteration keyword. As you can see, she has a giant hole in her chest, but that doesn't slow her down, not one bit. Able to adjust the flow of time itself with the aid of her companion Karina, Tara and her minions can be everywhere and nowhere all at once. Able to bury opponents who fail duels, Tara and her keyword excel in mobility and point scoring. Summoning vicious beasts from the zone between time and space, she can fill her roster with critical and important allies without having to worry about such a minion tax. Able to unbury opponents in frustrating positions, she can tag that scheme runner who is just 5 yards from scoring a touchdown, and before you know it, they'll be back up in their own deployment zones, miles away from objectives. Whilst a very challenging crew to play initially, Tara and Obliteration are one of the star teams and the best the Outcasts have to offer. Next up is Parker Barrows, leader of the Barrows gang and its subsequent bandit keyword. What's the point in the hard day's work when you can steal the fruits of everyone else's labours? That's the exact motto of the Barrows gang. However, there is some degree of honour among these thieves. You play your part, you do your job, you get your cuts. Being expert schemers, able to make opponents drop scheme markers at will, the bandits can eat these like Pac-Man pellets, giving themselves a substantial speed boost to move, gun down their opponents and score objectives. Having Mad Dog on their roster being objectively one of the best Outcast hires, the bandits will have your loot and your life before you know it. Extremely fun and flavourful crew, the bandits fit well in Malifaux's rough and tough aesthetic. And to round out the last of the Outcasts, we have Captain Zip, leader of the Infamous. Being another dual master of Outcast and Bayou, he too has an extensive roster to pick from in pursuit of his often insane goals and undertakings. Coursing through the skies of Malifaux on his ship, the Infamy, Zip loves nothing more than feeling the rush of air on his green, bug-eyed face. Armed with a lightning gun and a conversation so long and convoluted, you're probably better off just handing over what he wants and zoning out during his ramblings. You'll probably live to see another day, unless his first mate is feeling hungry. With his loyal band of jetpack jockey iron skeeters in tow, his aerial daredevils can bomb burst aboard in no time. Are they actually flying, or just falling with style? That's a question I'll have to ask Buzz Lightyear, I'm afraid. As they do, they just love dropping pianos on their opponents as they fly by. Why pianos? I mean, in regards to the world of Malifaux, there are far stranger questions out there to be asked. If you love the chaotic energy of the speed freaks in 40k and just orcs in general, then Captain Zip and his infamous crew may be the perfect fit for you.
The Bayou. At first glance, it's nothing but a swampy mess, a place where no sane soul would tread. And then there are the gremlins. Noisy, chaotic, downright ridiculous. You'd think they were more interested in brewing moonshine and blowing up whatever's in front of them than anything else. Underneath all that wild, unpredictable behaviour lies something dangerous. Sure, they might seem disorganised, but when the time comes, they can band together faster than you'd expect. And when they do, well, it's a problem. Because as little green misfits, they're clever. Scary clever. 1 minute they're making a mess with homemade bombs, the next they've rigged up a contraption that just shouldn't work, but somehow does. You see, these gremlins are just as good at inventing as they are causing mayhem. Guns, gadgets, machines, they tinker with them, break them, and rebuild them in ways you wouldn't believe. They may not have the discipline of the guild, and the elegance of the Arcanists, but they don't need it. In the Bayou, chaos is their weapon. Underestimate them, and you find yourself staring down the barrel of a 10-barrel pistol. Play it right by them, and they could be persuaded to part ways with some of their moonshine if the price is right. Scrip or hats. But believe me, your liver just isn't ready for that.
Now for the first of the Bayou crew, and we will starting off with Ophelia Lacroix. I know what you're thinking. Why does she have such a huge pair of ears? I don't know. Artificial, I guess. But she is the leader of the kin. They love family more than Vin Diesel does. They love guns even more than that. Able to lay down fire with an array of weapons and being able to dodge, duck, dip, dive and dodge. When the return fire heads their way, they can mitigate some of the damage. Being significantly more intelligent than her kin, which isn't a high bar, her intelligence even puts some humans to shame. This allowed Ophelia to climb a ladder within their clan and become a very respectful figurehead. Using her expert tactics, her crews can swap in and out various arsenal upgrades to hurl damage at their opponents using cutting-edge biotechnology. Just remember the number one rule amongst the inner circle of Malifaux. We don't talk about the sexy gremlin. It's weird. And now it's time for Ma Tuckett, head of the Trixie keyword. Does a spoonful of sugar really help the medicine go down? You better hope it's not administered by Ma. That much sugar will put you into diabetic coma and she'll probably hit you with a spoon afterwards just for good measure. Being such a ripe old age for a gremlin, she's been around the block a few times and she's picked up a number of handy tricks along the way. Being a more unpredictable band of gremlins, even by Bayou standards, they make use of trickery and tactics to escape sticky situations and constantly moving around the board to avoid trouble. The ultimate model is basically a mech, utilising stolen technology from the Miners and Steamfitters Union. Mecha Mima is one of the best titles in the game, hands down. I just recorded that like 3 times, I laughed every time. Mecha Mima. Whoever comes up with these names are weird, deserves a pay rise. Now for old Ulix Turner, one-legged swine wrangler of the Sui and pig keywords. The pigs in the Bayou are weapons amongst themselves, not just a portable bacon dispenser. Fiercely loyal to their masters and insatiably hungry for their next meal, no matter where it comes from. Gremlins riding these gigantic hogs make excellent cavalry for smashing into their opponent's lines and causing chaos throughout the ranks. Ulix possesses a unique ability to communicate with his swine herd using his quote-unquote swamp smarts. He knows everything there is about caring, raising, and fighting with the pigs he cares about so much. But what's worse than being charged by a pig? How about a gigantic pig on fire, engulfing everything in its path in flames? Well, Ulix's alternative, the Pork Belly Protector, may be the master for you. Whether it's pigs covered in frying pans, or the creepy swine cursed, which really remind me of the pig cops at Duke Nukem. All the oink, listen to the commands of the Hogfather himself. Next up is the connoisseur of moonshine himself, the Brewmaster, and his Tri-Chi keyword. Moonshine in the Bayou can come in a variety of qualities and flavours. It can strip paint off the walls and the linings of your intestines, but it can also be one of the smoothest, strongest, flavoursome drink you'll ever have in Malifaux. It just depends on the expertise of the gremlin making it. The Brewmaster stands at the very top of this pyramid, taking on an almost spiritual leadership role to the Bayou folk through his ability to distill the finest shine the Bayou has to offer. The followers of Tri-Chi have such a high tolerance for these concoctions that they're all but immune to their effects. Not so much, however, to the unfortunate people facing them in battle. Handing out the poison condition through alcohol abuse can lead a devastating effect on any crews, and the longer the battle goes on, the worse the hangover will be. When not fighting to escape his past dealings with the Ten Thunders, the Brewmaster is happy to share his wisdom and moonshine with the other denizens of the Bayou, showing he takes his role as a spiritual leader very seriously indeed. Next up, it's time for Wong, the Bayou's Wish.com version of Doctor Strange himself, leading his members of the Whiz-Bang crew. Wong is best known for his magic, not always having the intended effect, or rather, the intended target. When his fingers start sparking, it's best to get out of the way, especially if you're on his side. With uncontrolled magic comes uncontrolled explosions. You'll see Wong and his followers from a mile away. Instead of sporting the usual wear of his gremlin kin, Whiz-Bang prefer to wear theatrical wizarding robes in an attempt to further enhance their image of mysticism. You might see up Wong as another gremlin playing make-believe, but do not be mistaken. While his magical abilities do have degrees of successes, he's had terrifying effects in the past, such as the creation of the terrifying swine cursed. I'll also warn you about laughing at his moustache. It might slide around on his face when not glued in place, but I guarantee you it's 100% real. Don't ask him about it, you'll just make him mad. And last but not least, to round out the Bayou faction, we have Summerteeth Jones and his followers of the Big Hat. In Bayou Custom, the one who is a leader wears the biggest hat. Why is that? Because that's what the humans do. The ones giving out the orders always have the biggest hats, adorned with shiny metalwork and giant coloured feathers. Summerteeth Jones will never be convinced otherwise. Fueled by his passion to be the true leader of the Bayou, he often butts heads with the other family leaders, in particular Martucket. Always scheming, always using underhand tactics, and always looking for any opportunity to rid himself of the competition, Summerteeth may initially come across as a pig-headed fool, but he always has some kind of plan in the works. Having a big hat means you're in command. During the battle, Summerteeth summons forth the might of his family to do battle on his behalf. Once the battle is fought and the day is won, he loves nothing more than sitting on his porch with a jug of the finest moonshine. That is a leader I could get behind. And that wraps up part 2 of Malifaux Factions and Masters. The reception of the first one was very good, and hopefully we've made some improvements to the general audio quality and presentation. It's all about small improvements going forward, so really hope you've enjoyed this one. There's a lot of interesting characters in these particular factions. I think Outcasts are some ones that particularly shine. Kind of feel like Weird themselves just kind of thought, well, should we put all these misfits and weirdos, and the Outcast faction was born? Well, that's absolutely fine by me, because I stated earlier on, I may have a little bit of a bias towards them. I'd like to thank you all again for watching. So far the channel is doing exceptionally well, and I'd like to continue it that way. A lot of you seem to be enjoying this Malifaux content, and we will be bringing you more of that in the very near future. But until then, thanks for watching, and have a good one.